Welcome back to Beginner's Breadboards, my electronics learning journey. Today we're looking at project 15, which is the final project in the Arduino Projects Book series. This one is called Hacking Buttons. So here we're trying to control an external system with the Arduino using something called an optocoupler. So here what we're using is different from the book, and something we kind of added onto it with their suggestion is using a temperature sensor with the Arduino to control a tower fan. So the goal is when it exceeds a certain temperature in the room, the fan will turn on, and then when the temperature is under a certain value, the fan will turn off. And so to do that, we're using a temperature sensor with the Arduino connected to the A0 pin. This temperature sensor is the MCP9700AE. What that temperature sensor will do is we'll send a signal to the analog pin, and that'll give you a number between 0 and 1023. And then we have to do a couple of different conversions. So first converting that into a voltage, and then from that voltage, we can convert that into a temperature in degrees Celsius. And now based off of that temperature, we'll make decisions of this tower fan. The other part of this is the optocoupler here, which is connected to pin 2 of the Arduino with a 220 ohm resistor. What the optocoupler does is connects these two systems without actually having any electrical connection between them. So it's useful if you ever need something like that. Inside the optocoupler, there will be a light source, it's drawn as an LED, and then a photo transistor, so a transistor that's affected by the light from that. And then based off of the signal on here, you'll get different outputs on these other pins. So with that, when we send a pulse to the optocoupler, the pins 5 and 6 of it will short. And what that does is it acts like we're pressing this button on the IR remote of the tower fan. So this will shot together for a couple seconds, and then the IR from the remote will turn on or turn off the tower fan. So this is the code we had to write for the project. So we're starting with the integer of our sensor pin, A0, and then the optoPin, which is 2. We're using these constant floats, which allow us to add decimal places for temperature. The FanOnTemp we set at 28 degrees Celsius, and the FanOff temperature is 21 degrees Celsius. We also created a boolean here, which is the FanOnFlag, which will tell us whether the fan is currently on or off. The boolean will return either a true or false statement. So in the setup, we're starting our serial monitor, declaring the optoPin as an output, and then also saying that it's low, and then saying that the fan on is false because we're starting with the fan off. In the loop, what we're doing is we're saying that our sensor value is the analog read of that sensor pin, so that's the temperature. And then after here, we do the conversions of that. So we create that into a voltage using this equation, and then into a temperature in degrees Celsius with this equation. All three of these are printed on the serial monitor. And now here, this is how we control the actual fan. So if the temperature we got from here exceeds our FanOnTemp, which is 28 degrees, and this boolean, if the fan is currently off, so the FanOnFlag is false, then we will send a 3-second pulse to that remote, which allows it to turn on. And then we set that boolean to true, so the FanOnFlag will be true. However, if the temperature is under that FanOffTemp, then we kind of do the opposite. And that the fan is currently on, we send another pulse to turn the fan off, and then set the flag to false. So this means the fan will be running when the temperature is between 28 degrees and then 21 degrees, as we said here. And then if it goes under 21 degrees, the fan will turn off. So here we have the Arduino and everything set up on the breadboard, as well as the IR remote for the fan, which is set up in the corner of our room. So on the Arduino, this is the temperature sensor connected to the A0 pin right here. And then this is pin 2 of the Arduino, which through this resistor is connected to the optocoupler. And then these two wires are soldered to just the on and off button of this remote. We connected them there, which connects these two systems, so the remote and fan, to the Arduino through the optocoupler. So on our program right now, writing into the serial monitor, we can see the current temperature of our room. Right now, that's about 19.82 degrees. And because that's under the 21 degrees for fan off, the fan is currently not on. We also see all three values of the sensor value, the voltage, and that degrees there, and then the state of our boolean. So if we heat up the temperature sensor just with our hand here and hold that for a while, we'll see on the serial monitor the temperature will start to increase. And it'll increase pretty slowly. But then as we get closer to that threshold of 28, and then once it exceeds that threshold, there, and our fan turned on. We can hear the noise of it going. And now as the room cools because of the fan, the temperature sensor will start going down, or degrees will decrease. And then once we get under 21, the fan will turn off. So there you go. Once we got under that temperature, the fan turned off.